Welcome back from that break. And one Garg brother has been replaced by another. So I am joined to discuss this qualifier one. And Ashwin's already shaking his head with Ashwin. Ashwin, how's things going for you, man? It's been a pretty emotional Sunday, right?
And I feel like I haven't yet heard the first half of the episode that you recorded with Varun, but I feel like I got the short straw here because you guys got to talk about the final week in Delhi qualifying at top of the table and 20 points and all this. And now I have to sit here and talk to you about an exceptionally depressing Sunday in which, of course, the Chennai Super Kings have come victorious over the Delhi Capitals, with CSK making their ninth Vivo IPL final. And Delhi, while not out, has to win one more match now to try to make the finals. So upsetting. I was just thinking through, like, it's one of the worst. The transparent truth about everything right now is that it's not a fun podcast to have to record. But you and I got to live the glory of the GABA and then at Lords and some of these moments, and people saw us and captured our raw emotions of just pure joy when India succeeded and delivered in those matches. And so here we are. We have to deal with the raw emotion that's negative as Delhi Capitals came up short today. So that's the reality of choosing to have a podcast, I guess.
Yeah, so talk us through this game, right? Like the Delhi Capitals top of the table meeting the CSK, came second, 20 points, 18 points in the league stage. We actually talked in the first half how we thought that Delhi Capitals out cricket was poor in that last over loss against RCB, how they didn't look like um, they were on song really. But let's start from the top. Right, let's start from and of course we criticized MS Dhoni for his match losing knock 18 of 27, keeping Bravo and Jadeja off the field. All of this is going to come back to bite us in this half. So this is a podcast of two halves, really. Me being the only common factor, which is pretty amusing. But talk me through the start of it. Tom Curran being picked, hindsight being 2020 and all that, but you picked Tom Curran instead of Ripple Patel. And so that's your name for him, by the way, which
I didn't say it. You said it on the podcast.
Yeah,
I only used it in private. I didn't make it public.
But we dropped him. What's the thinking behind that, man, to start with?
Look, there's an overseas slot that was up for grabs, right? There's no question about that. The age-old debate in T20 cricket is, do you need a sixth bowling option? So India really was looking at it as Ripple Patel, Lalit Yadav.
You can see the emotion when you're calling it India and not Delhi.
Did I say India? Sorry. The Delhi, it's been an exhausting Sunday. The Delhi franchise looked at Patel, Yadav, and then Tom Curran, and for some reason did not look at Sam Billings, and that's because they wanted that sixth bowling option. I thought it was fascinating that they chose to go the Tom Curran route, right? Tom Curran did play two matches, I think, before this, only picked up one wicket. He's played before in the IPL. But I'm talking about this season. In the first half of the season, he played a couple of matches. And yeah, I think it's just, this is not, the crazy thing is as Delhi fans for the last 13 years, including the Daredevils, now the Capitals, it's not unusual that Delhi would do something like this, right? CSK is going into unchanged. Most sides will go in unchanged at this game because you've used the last few matches to find your rhythm. And Rishabh Pant and Ponting are like, yeah, let's throw in a new guy into the mix. Maybe it'll add an element of surprise. I mean, he picked up 3 wickets, so on paper, not a bad choice. And again, Rabada had a bad day, which we'll get into. But to give the 20th over to a guy who hasn't played a match at all since the resumption is also bizarre, right? So anyway, lots to talk about.
Yeah, we'll come to that. I felt that they wanted, as you say, the sixth bowler, and probably Tom Curran was giving enough batting as Ripple was giving them or Lalit Yadav was giving them. Obviously, Sam Billings is a pure batsman, but it would leave them sort of exposed in the field if they didn't have that sixth bowler. But again, when you have too many options, you don't know which ones to use at the right time. You have 5 bowlers, you know who your bowlers are going to be in the death. There's no question about it. So that's
I couldn't help, but again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I couldn't help but think that Rabada is a guy who bowled my favorite delivery of all time, maybe in
super over.
In the super over against KKR to win us the match. And here you have a must-win situation with 13 to defend, and you gave the ball to Tom Curran. But before we come to that,
we have to get into that.
Yeah, I can summarize really quickly what happened in the game. And again, it all started at losing the toss, right? We've talked extensively on this show and have articles on our site, onetiponehand.com and stuff about the role of the toss in IPL. It's the immediate first blow, right? CSK knew what they would have to chase. Chasing teams have done exceptionally well. The openers did okay. I think the truth is there's probably a very strong correlation between when Dhawan does well and when Delhi wins. But he didn't do well, but Shaw did pretty well. Iyer unfortunately fell short as well. Interesting choice. Both teams sent out unorthodox picks at number 4, right? Delhi Capital sent out Akshar Patel. CSK sent out Shardul. Obviously, they were trying to try something a little bit different. It didn't quite pay out here. But then Shaw and Pant had a nice little partnership there. And then when Shaw perished, Pant and Hetmeyer actually had a brilliant partnership. 2 lefties, both can be aggressive, both checked themselves just enough for 6 overs or so. I remember distinctly being for most of the kind of up to the 12th to 13th over, like 160. If these guys can get to 160, it'd be great. Then they got to 170. At one point, you thought 180 before the last over and a half or so were soft. But 172, I would
by another of one of your favorites, Shardul, who only gave away 8, which is, fantastic in the last over.
Brilliant at the death, right? Like outstanding. Rishabh Pant was just trying to hit the ball so hard. He was swinging at everything, which again is what he does. But again, I'd overall say 172, not a bad outing, right? We didn't really let Bravo find any rhythm, etc. 172 is not great. It's not a slam dunk by any means. Obviously, it didn't turn out to be, but it's not a bad outing. So that's kind of my quick summary of the first innings.
Not bad for a team with the best bowling attack in theory, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Plus, you just bolstered that bowling attack with another player. Now that I think back to it, actually, Tom Curran was taken apart by his brother, right? Sam, in one CSK game, from what I remember. Earlier in the year.
I mean, his economy rate is like still over 9, right, in the IPL. So it's not great.
Anyway, so the CSK guys, they lose Faf early-ish, right? And then Ruturaj and Uttapa, man. What a blinder. Where has Robbie re-emerged from? We saw him last year struggle to hit the ball off the square at Rajasthan.
Yeah, and again, this is what CSK does, right? These guys who don't who aren't in good form. I mean, again, you look at the lineup and Robbie is basically playing for Suresh Raina. Now there's discussion about injury and he was injured, but there's also some out there who believe he's now fit again, but wasn't having a good IPL. And Uttapa hasn't had a good IPL yet. He's obviously a class player with an incredible history in the IPL, but is on the, age is not his friend right now. And he just came out and played a blinder, 63 or 44 balls. Built a absolutely magnificent 100+ run partnership with Gaikwad. And Gaikwad also looked phenomenal again, but that's been more consistent with his form. Made 70. But quite amazing as you look at the score, you had a half century and a single-digit score by the openers. Then you had a half century at number 3, and you had 2 single-digit scores at number 4 and 5 in Shardul and Rayudu. Shardul's promotion to 4, also very interesting. And then, of course, finished off by Moin and Dhoni. Moin ended up getting out, but MS Dhoni, who again hasn't had a good IPL, hasn't had a good run necessarily. And we can talk about this for another hour, which we're not going to let you because it's late and I need to go to sleep soon. But like Dhoni found his form, right? So it's just bad luck for Delhi Capitals fans that both the older guys with Thappa and Dhoni found form. Now, some of it is maybe this is what you need. Experience matters in big game moments like this, right? They've done it. They've done this before. Pant has never captained a playoff game before. So some poor decision making, some sloppiness in the field at times.
Some brilliance in the field as well.
Some brilliance in the field, especially Shreyas Iyer.
And Akshar's
Akshar had a good catch. Iyer had a great catch. Iyer had a great run out too, straight to Rabada, and Rabada was falling over the other direction, but still managed to dislodge the bails. Like some brilliance out there.
On the boundary as well. So we should give credit because they improved from that last game where Akshar misfield and all that stuff. So they clearly focused on that. But Ashwin, I think I need to put this out there in the universe. I'm going to blame you for MS Dhoni scoring 18 of 6 against the Delhi Capitals. 2 years, he's hardly hit a ball in anger. And I feel he's heard the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. He's heard the first half of the show, which released before the
You think
qualifier.
he listened
And
to
I'm trying
us?
to make excuses. I called him an aging tiger, and I was like, it's so sad to see this. And he's literally just rolled the years back. This could have been MS Dhoni in 2015. This could have been MS Dhoni in 2019 in the World Cup. And Stephen Fleming comes out and says, like, it's emotional for us to see the captain do it. And he gets that look in his eye and he's saying, I'll go. And then you can't say anything to him because he's going to go and do it for your team. And I'm like, it's so hard. I'm a Delhi Capitals fan. I'm gutted at this loss. I was like, okay, it's 19 of 8. Thala is in, fine. Okay, he's hit a 6, 13 of 7. I didn't know what to do with myself at that point. And I'm just like, I don't want Delhi to go out. I want Thala to do well, maybe be off strike. And the other guy messes up. I was running through all these permutations in my head. It was just too much. And then he does it casually. And you see Tom Curran melt. Tom Curran, who's taken 2 wickets in 2 balls before that, and he gets Moeen in the first ball of the last over. How you couldn't have a better start to the last over, right? 13 of 6, you get a wicket. It's 13 of 5. But during that ball going in the air to Rabada, MS Dhoni has crossed over. And at one point, you're like, okay, maybe that's not a bad thing for Delhi Capitals because MS is going to be on strike. Jadeja is going to be off strike. But he goes.
But what happens the next ball?
It goes 4.
And then the next one?
Then there's an edge.
Bottom edge. Like, this is also luck. 8 days out of 10, that would have hit the stumps or rolled straight to Rishabh Pant and been a
Yeah, and we would have been like, MS Dhoni tried, great 6. That 6 would have been on loop. Delhi Capitals to the finals.
Yeah, he swung hard. He got an edge and it rolled for 4. And sometimes luck. See, I can see you reliving this with me, and it's so painful. Yeah.
Fortune favors the brave.
Yeah.
I mean, but Twitter just exploded. He had Virat Kohli tweeting. He tweeted twice. He said, the king is back, the greatest finisher. Made me jump out of my seat again. And then he deletes that tweet and he retweeted saying the greatest finisher ever.
I missed that part.
Adds one word, the greatest finisher ever.
Man.
It's the same tweet, just with an addition of the word ever.
That's amazing.
I mean, like, Delhi Capitals is tweeting saying, why did you do this against us, Mahi Bhai? Like, everyone, like, Twitter is just on fire. And it's an innings of 18 of 6. As you said, Ruturaj played really well. Moeen played really well. Robbie played really well. But I think the outpouring of love, it's nostalgia, right? That's all it is. You're taking yourself 5-7 years back when you were a different part in your life, and MS Dhoni did this for fun every day. Anyway, forget Dhoni. We need to talk about the Delhi Capitals' decision not to bowl Rabada there, Ashwin. You've said, so there's one theory which says he's going at 12.67 and over. So they made the right decision going for Curran. Curran was bowling well. He'd got them back into the game. He'd taken Shardul's wicket, Moeen's wicket. It was a fair call in a way. That's what they were saying. But in a crunch scenario, right? Who are you going to turn to? Are you going to turn to Tom Curran or your champion?
So just to be clear, he bowled 3 overs for 23 today. So that's 7.7.
Yeah, but at the death, he's going at 12.67.
Sure. But today, he's going 3 overs. I just think it's not, it's so easy to say. But in fairness to me, there's a timestamped message I sent you guys with some expletives and the question mark about Curran over Rabada. Right? So I was just as upset before the over started, regardless of the result. It doesn't add up. Rabada is a world-class bowler. Even if he's had a bad run in the death recently, you throw the ball to him. That's what we said. Super over, he's the guy that bowls it for you. He has this ability to find a new level. In fact, it was interesting when he took that catch of Moeen at the boundary, you almost saw him upset. Like, and that's the thing with class players, right? Like, the best of the best aren't nervous in soccer to step up and take a penalty. They want to be the person who steps up. Rabada is the guy who wanted the ball. He wanted the skipper to throw him the ball. You have to believe that. And again, no discredit to Pant. Karan had bowled well down the day. They figured he had 2 wickets. Really, the only difference between the two of them was the wicket. And yeah, I mean, you made a choice. It was the wrong choice to me at the time. Obviously, the result has proven that to us that it was a wrong choice as well. But slower balls were working, right? It was probably a pace off the ball type of thing. Rabada doesn't take pace off the ball nearly as much. And Avesh had looked good, and then Ashwin and Akshay had both looked good by taking pace off the ball. And so again, you can question lots of things. Akshay didn't finish his spell. Ashwin didn't finish his spell, right? Like, could you have managed your bowlers more effectively? Probably.
Too many options, right? That's the point. You have 5 bowlers, you bowl 5 of them done. There's
I
nothing to
mean,
you.
that feels like a cop out. I don't think that's an appropriate excuse.
I mean,
But
it's also a bit of a stats-driven approach. I think they've taken a decision clearly in the management that he's not going to bowl at the death.
yeah,
Some
I mean,
at the 12.67, he's not going to bowl at the death. And it's like saying, I mean, put the shoe on the other foot. MS Dhoni would have never bowled Joginder Sharma in that last over, right?
sure.
The IPL wouldn't have existed. India wouldn't have won their first.
And the IPL wouldn't have existed. Yeah, that's also true.
Like without Jogi bowling that last over and getting Misbah, who's tearing into him, right? Like these are not stats things. You need to have a feel for the game, a gut feel. And I just felt Rabada, he's your champion. You go to your champion when the chips are down, you ask them to deliver, right? And Pant went the slightly safer option. It backfired, right? I mean, maybe we'd be having a different discussion if one of those had gone to MS Dhoni. MS Dhoni hit one down fielder's hand. And anyway, there's still Delhi. Okay, we're acting like Delhi have been knocked out.
No, that's the thing. The point of finishing top 2 is that they still have a shot, but it's an upsetting loss. 19 off 9 dot ball, 19 off 8. You back the best, and then Dhoni just slapped that pull shot for 6. You can't bowl it short and wide to MS, right? You want to bowl it wide outside, you have to bowl it full. So you want to bowl short, you have to bowl it at his body. Anyway, it wasn't great. Wednesday there will be one more shot. Hopefully it'll be more optimistic, and then next Friday let's hope for another Delhi versus.
What's your prediction, Ashwin? Let's do a quick prediction. Today's RCB versus KKR.
I think RCB will win.
Oh,
they look stronger.
So we're looking RCB versus Delhi on Wednesday.
Yeah, and then
this year to RCB, but we'd beaten Chennai 4 times in the last 365 days.
My heart's telling me to predict that Delhi will win. But honestly, if KKR loses tomorrow, the 2 available options for next Friday are Dhoni versus Kohli, who's his successor as captain,
bromance,
or Dhoni versus Pant, who's his successor as keeper. Like,
it's just so it's poetic.
It's too poetic.
Just don't want KKR. Sorry, KKR fans. Where is
the fun in Dhoni versus Morgan? DK. That's not as much fun.
No, Dhoni versus DK.
No, DK is not skipper anymore. It's not the same.
Yeah, but like Morgan, whatever. But I mean, yeah, the only one point I want to add is that Rabada had been the one that started Dhoni's slide as a finisher. If you remember, we wrote about it on a blog. He bowled that 1 over defending 8, I think maybe Nagpur or something like that. And I remember Dhoni skying one, being beaten for pace when it was a short ball. And that was the beginning of the end slightly. Before that, Dhoni was invincible, right? He finished every game. You didn't have to worry about it. Like yesterday's game was par for the course for the Dhoni at his peak. I mean, insane. Anyway, Ashwin, we also need to talk about the Indian women's tour that is just wrapped in Australia. Really great set of T20s, very exciting. One of the guests that we had on our show bowled, I think, the ball of this century, man. Did you get to see Shikha Pandey bowl Alyssa Healy?
Yeah, not live, but I've seen the replay. I mean, they're still talking about it. The Australian media is still talking about it. The Australian team is still talking about it.
In swinger, brilliant. But just run our listeners through what happened in the 3 T20s that were played.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate actually, because the first T20 was looking incredibly good and a big opportunity to have won, to put a big total on the board and win. Like India was 131 in 15 overs. So 175 plus on the cards. Magnificent batting from Jemmy, but rain played spoil sport. So unfortunately, Jemmy got stuck on 49 not out, but the match wouldn't count anyway because it was washed out. So with two T20s left, unfortunately, India came up a little bit short. In the second one, some brilliant bowling by the seamers from an Australia standpoint ended up leading the India women only to 118 for 9. Shout out to Harman, who's looked good for a while now, and Pooja Vastrakar, who made a lower order 37. Yeah, I mean 37 of 26 when the whole team, most of the rest of the team has made single digits. But honestly, against this Australian side, 118 was just not enough. And the Indian bowlers did pretty well, right? Gaikwad picked up 3 wickets. It looked pretty good at one point, but you had Talia McGrath, and a lot of the news has said McGraths will be tormenting Team India, but in whatever form of the game, whatever decade
This
it is.
one with the bat, right? So
this was the bat, different format, different decade, all of the above. So of course, Australia went 1-0 up in the 3-match series with one being washed out. And then unfortunately this morning, my time, so yesterday, I guess, would be, Australia actually got put into bat first. And Beth Mooney picked up another half century, made 61. Talia McGrath looked good again, picked up 44. And Team India got close. Great knock from Smriti.
She batted brilliantly, man.
Yeah, a great knock from her, made 52. Couple of good cameos from Jemmy and Richa Ghosh down the order, but fell 14 runs short, making 140, 135. So honestly, a great series all in all. Pretty disappointing. Talia McGrath showed up really big for Australia. A couple of great highlights for India. The big one for me that I'll highlight is Yastika Bhatia. Just a great new name, huge future potential. So lots of good things ahead. And Australia just being Australia, just the powerhouses of this game. A lot of debate has started about women's IPL and whether this would have helped in crunch situations, including some of the players themselves have said, hey, they have the talent. They just don't have the exposure and the time at this level to be performing in a way that enables them to
winning those crunch moments, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you saw Richa Ghosh at the end yesterday as well, hitting huge sixes straight off the middle of the bat. Just Vastrakar, you've got Harman, you've got Smriti, you've got Jemmy. I mean, this is the talent that you've got when you haven't really even gone looking.
Yep.
If you go looking and you nurture the talent, it is going to be absolutely brilliant to have a women's IPL. And the BCCI, genuinely, anybody who ever listens to us, please tell if you know someone at the BCCI, please tell them. Please tell them that this women's IPL, its time has come. I mean, what are you waiting for?
That is absolutely right.
Invest in it. Give the players what they want. Give the fans what they want. There is enough of an audience. So please, 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 please. It will help, like the men's IPL help the men's game grow. The women's IPL will help the women's game grow exponentially. So please, they're going to go and play the WBBL now. Lots of, I think, Harman and Smriti and those guys are going to stay back in Australia. That experience will be invaluable. They played the 100. Now we need a home tournament. You say you're the best board in the world. How can you not have? I mean, what is it? This is, I don't want to use the S word, but it is sexism. It's nothing else. It's not commercialism. It is sexism. Why aren't you giving the women that tournament? It's ridiculous. Anyway, Ashwin, 2 more things. One, I put out a tweet saying, describe and give your imaginary description of the last ball of the IPL. And it started with someone saying Kohli is going to lift the trophy. And then I gave an alternate ending. But we got a great response, Ashwin. And I'd like you to read that out. I think I sent you the screenshot of it. So the question was, describe the last ball of this year's IPL. So IPL 2021. And someone wrote in with a fantastic response. So please do read that out.
Given the result we've had today, do I still have to read it? I'm going to do it.
You have to read it, especially because of the result we had today.
Okay. Great question. Really good tweet. The tweet came in from VK and at _ the real VK _ DC versus CSK. Last ball. Avesh Khan to Dhoni. Massive hit out of the park. Vintage Thala finishes off in style with 110-meter 6. DC win by 18 runs. Which is just so good. You spent this picture of Thala hitting a massive last ball 6 to win, but it was still a Delhi victory. So it was nice. gave us
Like
some
that,
joy. So thank you,
we're
Vika.
now holding on to hope, guys. We're holding on to hope. But anyway, it's going to be a cracking finish to this IPL. Delhi's got another game, so we're happy. Ashwin, I can't log into fantasy cricket. So you're gonna have to do the fantasy update. So where
Yeah.
can I ask if I'm in the top 10 still? No.
No, I'm number 12. Varun is number 30. And I'm scrolling. You are number 61, my friend. You are
Out
not
of 250, that's still not bad. If I haven't been able to log
264. Yeah, no. It sounds like excuses. Anyway, I've fallen out of the
I
top 10.
told you I'm retired after I was ahead of you.
Yeah, I've
Considering
fallen. Hey, these all I'm hearing are excuses. But I've fallen out of the top 10, but I'm 150 odd points behind. So I think behind number 10. So I think I can get there. But yeah, some of the usual suspects have done well to end out the group stage, and Natubhai 11 is in first place. Raging Bulls 11 is in second. Yeah. Sorry?
This guy is a champion. Natubhai 11, if you're listening, please write into us and tell us who you are. Can we get some tips from you, please?
I mean, 19,882 points.
Consistently, boss.
Yeah, 19,882 points.
Cheat code for fantasy.
So 19,000 points, Natubhai 11 is number 1. We have Raging Bulls 11 at 2 and Johnny Blazers at number 3. I'm trying to see if
We
I
need
can
to get
figure.
Johnny Blazers and Natubhai 11 on our show for sure. Firstly, great team names. Secondly, they've been consistently in the top 3.
I mean, just to be
So
clear,
those-
Natubhai 11, whoever this is number 13 in the world.
What?
Yeah,
And
I just looked at 19,882 points and I realized that is number 13 in the world. So whoever you are, send us a message. We would love to get in touch. We want to see you finish in the top 10 in the world at least. You got 3
we
more
wanted to
matches.
finish number 1.
That's
And we want to
unbelievable.
interview you on the show, boss.
13 in the world right now, in the global leaderboard.
To beat Ashwin, who ended 6th in the world in one tournament.
That's your new benchmark, right? How many you only have to make another 200 odd points to get 6th. You're up there and you're in your striking distance, my friend. So that's it. That's our fantasy update. Next week we will announce the final winners.
Yeah, and next week we will know the winners of the final as well, that of the IPL, and we will be back wrapping it all, the thrills, the spills, the highs, the lows on the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. As always, write in at One Tip One Hand, join our Discord. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Write us an email, contact@onetiponehand.com, and leave us a review and a rating. We love hearing from you guys. So if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, tell your friends about us. And yeah, we will see you once the IPL has wrapped and we have a winner for 2021. Let's see who that is. Cheers.